Lesson 7C, the nephron. As described in the last lesson, each kidney contains roughly 1 million nephrons. In this illustration, we see 2 of them. Nephrons are actually tiny little tubes that filter blood plasma of metabolic waste. But they also manage to return the important components of blood plasma that may have been filtered out of blood unintentionally. The nephron is the functional unit of the kidney, meaning that the nephron is the structure that makes urine. As you can see, each nephron is quite long and zigzags up and down. They all begin in the cortex, then travel down into the medulla and back up into the cortex. This design allows for very important things like water and salt that were filtered out of blood to be returned back to the blood where it's needed. Each nephron begins with a special bell-shaped head called the Bowman's capsule. Each Bowman's capsule envelops a bundle of blood capillaries called the glomerulus, which contains the blood that will be filtered. Connected to the Bowman's capsule is the proximal convoluted tubule, which is located entirely in the renal cortex. Proximal means near, and convoluted means bent. The next part of the nephron is called the loop of Henle, which travels down into the renal medulla and loops back upwards towards the renal cortex. Next in line is the distal convoluted tubule, which again is in the renal cortex. This in turn joins with the collecting ducts, which form the minor calyx, which turn into the major calyx, and eventually forms the ureter that will run the urine to the urinary bladder. It hasn't been illustrated in the previous images, but each nephron is surrounded by a network of capillaries called the peritubular capillaries. This capillary bed has a very important role in reabsorbing the necessary blood components that were initially filtered out of blood, along with the waste products, such as water and salt. In the next lesson, we will see how the nephron creates urine.